This is Our View, brought to you by the proud members of the Washington Federation of State Employees. When a company trims its payroll, workers are usually just shown the door. That isn't the case as Wilcox Farms ends its Pierce County milk production and the jobs of 130 employees. Those workers were given employment counseling as well as a company-sponsored job fair. Fair gave employers the opportunity to hire needed staff and the Wilcox workers an opportunity for a future.
With the potential of 130 people being out of a job and with the State Patrol in need of hiring quality, trainable people, once I found out that this was an opportunity, I called Wilcox Farms and asked them if I would be able to come out and share opportunities with their people. And again, we're in the process of hiring 54 new trooper cadets every 9 months for the next 4 years to address our attrition issue. And also our commercial vehicle enforcement division currently have 40 positions open for commercial vehicle officers, and so I also came out to talk about those positions as well. By being out here today, some of the people that have thought about law enforcement as a career path came over and talked to me about what opportunities we have available. And so I think it was a very good turnout, and I expect to get some phone calls from some of the people here today.
At our corporate office this week, we're having a roundtable brainstorming meeting about recruiting or filling a lot of positions that we need filled as our company continues to grow. We have a lot of structured and fast-paced growth that is going to be happening within the next 5 years. So we have a lot of positions that need to be filled efficiently and effectively, quickly. So during the meeting, our general manager brought up that she'd seen on the news that Wilcox had made layoffs or were closing its doors. So she thought that the type of company that Wilcox Dairy has always portrayed themselves to be and proved to be in the Northwest, that they may be having a job fair. We found probably what looks to be one of the two most solid leads that we've had on hopefully qualified candidates to fill 2 positions. We are a 34-year-old company. We are still privately held. Exciting company to work for, new technology, a great benefits package, retirement package. We have a great program. We attract employees to our company, worldwide. We have a lot to offer. One of our goals with the company is not just to obviously make productivity and performance on a business level, but for everybody to enhance their personal lives as well.
I hope to see that all of our great employees find other employment after working here for so long, and it was just great to see the community come out and really support our employees and really take the time to help out.
100 events across the country recently brought attention to the dangers of imported goods from countries with no safety standards. It was the Steelworkers who held demonstrations in front of local offices of members of Congress. In our state, the workers presented their requests for needed legislation to the office of Representative Dave Rieder.
We as parents and grandparents and members of this community have a responsibility to stand together to do whatever possibly we can to protect our families against toxic imports. This event is a part of a National Day of Action, where 100 different locations, congressional district offices across this country are holding these same type of activities. And we're here to demand that Congress take immediate action to protect Americans from the dangerous threat posed by millions of lead-laced toys and unsafe products infiltrating our country. This is a very small example of what we tested that contained lead, PVC, cadmium, and other toxins that are so dangerous to us.
we were promised access to markets. I remember, you know, this is one of the big opportunities of globalization, access to markets. So when I heard that, what I thought that meant was that we would have access to consumers in foreign countries to buy the things that we make in America, right? We would have access to consumers around the world. What the manufacturers heard from those same words, access to markets, they would have access to producers around the world who could make things for us to buy, right? So what's the attraction to them? Well, obviously, if you have access to producers around the world, you can pay your workers a fraction of what we would get here. That's one obvious thing. But you'd also be free from all the regulations and social obligations that you'd have to follow in the United States. So if you could produce around the world, you wouldn't need to follow our environmental rules. You wouldn't have to honor human rights or labor rights. You wouldn't have to worry about any of the public safety issues that we're talking about today. You could follow the standards that are set in foreign countries. So if foreign countries use child labor or take advantage of their workers or pollute the environment, that becomes the standard that the manufacturers could follow.
The steelworkers have been working against lead, particularly lead in paint, for 38 years. When these products were made in the United States, the steelworkers were involved in working against it. So we've been involved. It's not just a trade issue with us. It's a safety issue for our 850,000 members and their families and their children and grandchildren.
Here you go. Another children's placemat. 985 parts per million lead. Where do you suppose that's going to go? It may be on her neck, but that's just long enough to where do you think that's going to go? And that is tested 40 parts per million arsenic.
Climate change will affect our work. This will mean changes in the way we do many of our jobs and will eliminate many jobs if we don't meet the challenge. The subject of job sustainability has become a full-time assignment for the Trade Unions Advisory Committee that represents most of the world's unions on worldwide issues.
Developed countries and workers have to, affront or confront two different transitions. One linked to, government decisions that we agree with, the fact of changing our way of living, but the other one is directly related with the nature. Workers are linked with nature, even if that linkage is more and more distant, but we are very much influenced by it. So if climate changes, we'll have to change also our workplaces, and we'll have to prepare for this. And this transition has to be fast, and that have to be made right now, and we have to plan for this right now. So that's what unions should push for. Government policies also, that have to address also this kind of job transition. The more you are poor, the more you will suffer. And climate change is not different from other kind of impacts we know about. Economic crisis, finance, all kind of problems in our society are always worse for those who cannot prepare for them. So if that person who asked me that is poor, you can be sure that this one will suffer the more. And what does it mean in practice? If this person is a small farmer in Africa, well, you can be sure that there will be a lot of risk for famine for his family, because he won't be able to prepare it, he won't be able to change his crops, he won't be able to, understand what's going on with the nature. But it may be even worse for those who are not linked with nature, who won't understand why they cannot use water anymore. In developed countries, people are used to have this kind of services like magic. They don't know exactly from where they come from. But in cities, they are disturbed by water coming from the mountains. You will see maybe in a century, you won't have any more these sources, because you won't have the same kind of snow during the winter, so you won't have that much water during the summer. So all the things that seem so natural in our lifestyles, they will little by little beginning to change. So that will impact them as consumers, as citizens. And in the workplace, well, I think a lot of things will be decided right now. What will happen? I mean, climate change is a reality, but how much it will impact, that will be decided today. Well, there's a lot of things that we can do as workers, as unions, because if we are organized, we can also ask the employers to change the way of producing things. But if we do all these changes now, we have a possibility of reducing the impact of the warming tomorrow. Maybe not for us, but probably for our children.
A look at our union history, here is Ross Rieder.
Granting that this is a non-denominational program, and anyone who knows me knows I'm pretty non-denominational, an ecumenical unionist, you might say, it has interested me over the years that there is such a thing as a patron saint of workers. The Catholic Encyclopedia tells us that St. Joseph was the spouse of Mary and foster father of Jesus. The following from that encyclopedia describes in Catholic scholarly tomes some of the known and unknown history. It says the chief sources of information on the life of St. Joseph are the first chapters of our first and third Gospels. They are practically also the only reliable sources. At any rate, Bethlehem, the city of David and his descendants, appears to have been Joseph's hometown. When, however, the Gospel history opens a few months before the birth of Jesus, Joseph had settled in Nazareth. Why and when he forsook his hometown for Galilee is not explained. Some suppose that the then moderate circumstances of the family and the necessity of earning a living probably brought about the change. We learn from Matthew and Mark that St. Joseph was a tekton, meaning that he was both mechanic in general and carpenter in particular. Like many of today's construction workers, he sometimes had to travel to survive economically. According to the late 19th century author C. Osborne Ward, in his 2-volume History of Workers, Free and Slave, in the 2 millennia leading up to Emperor Constantine's adoption and adaptation of Christianity, the Carpenters' Union in their area of Phoenicia and Palestine was over 700 years old. The history is literally carved in stone. The foundations of the honor paid to St. Joseph were that he was a just man, as well as being the foster father of Jesus and the spouse of Mary. Adopted first throughout the Spanish kingdom, it was later on extended to any state and diocese that asked for the privilege. No devotion seems to have appealed so forcibly to the hearts of Christian people, and particularly of the laboring classes during the 19th century, as that of St. Joseph. Pope Pius IX, himself singularly devoted to St. Joseph, declared the 19th of March should be Joseph's Day.
You've been watching Our View, brought to you by the members of the Washington Federation of State Employees. We remind you, when you accept a paycheck for your hard work, you don't give up your rights. Thank you for watching.